Excited to welcome in one of our most famous Barnstormer Clinic hosts, speakers, one of my close friends, fired up San Diego State head coach Mark Martinez. Mark, thanks for jumping on with us.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
You're the best.
Thank you very much. This is awesome. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Let's go into this right away. How many conventions?
Man, I started going in 1990. I haven't been a consecutive guy,
Right.
But I've been going for a long time, and this is kind of where I cut my coaching teeth. You know, this is where I've learned so much baseball from great baseball minds like Ron Polk and Skip Bertman, Dave Bingham, Bob Milano. I mean, the list goes on and on. Mark Marcus, and and it's not just the speakers. It's hanging out in the trade show and talking ground balls or hitting, and it's just you learn so much when you come here and you walk out of here ready to go to work this next week. I'm so excited just to get back, and we're in day one really.
That's it.
Yeah.
Let's go to 1990. 9 years old, and you're getting to your first convention. Take me back to that moment.
Well, I lied to you a little bit. I did go to one other convention before that, and again, this is when I was a teacher. I was an elementary school PE teacher, so I was a superstar. Yeah, in Fruita, Colorado.
Okay.
I went to school in Grand Junction, and I graduated and ended up getting an opportunity to teach right after I finished my education. I didn't get drafted, obviously. I got drafted in to go
coach.
Right. And my first convention was actually, oddly enough, I went to San Diego, California. And this was like 1988-ish, 87, right around there. It was about 87. And the keynote speakers was Don Mattingly and Tony Gwynn. And so it was my first opportunity, and I got off the plane, you know, and I didn't know how to schedule it all back then.
Right.
I got off plane, and it was right across the way, the hotel, and I'm hustling over there. I'm trying to get in, and I know that Mattingly and Gwynn are speaking like in about a half an hour, so I got to hustle.
Right.
And I'm walking along the sidewalk, and the sprinklers are going off, and there's a guy in front of me pushing a stroller. And I'm kind of getting a little fired up,
I love this.
Like, yeah, you know, you need, let's go. You know, I'm late. It's all about me, right?
Sure.
And so I end up, you know, finally getting into an opening, and turn around, it's Don Mattingly. So I wasn't gonna miss, but I'm glad I didn't say anything to that guy. So that was my first opportunity. I sat in the front row, and I took a bunch of notes that day, and I continued to go the whole time, and it made a difference. And so I went back home, and I started. Going back to school, but coming on the way back, Sam Simplizio, who's from Grand Junction, played in the big leagues with the Angels, with all kinds of people, was on the seat next to me. And we're going back to Grand Junction, and we started talking about the convention, how much fun I had, and he told me, he says, you know what, you need to coach in college.
Wow.
And my coach in college, Jamie Hamilton, worked for Sam Simplizio, and I find myself in their office on Monday morning and kind of saying, okay, what are you talking about? I need to go coach. And they said, well, you need to go back to school. You need to go get your master's. Yeah, that one hurt.
Yeah.
And so,
school, really?
and that's kind of how I ended up going to New Mexico, you know, through their, you know, tutoring and mentoring. They said, this is what you need to do in order to put yourself in a position to coach in college. And really had no designs to do that. I didn't realize that was going to be my path. And I went down to New Mexico, and I got my started on my master's, and finished that right around the fall of 1989. Then my first real convention, I guess, was I can't even remember where. I think it was Dallas, actually.
Wow, wouldn't that be neat?
So
you mentioned Jamie Hamilton. We were talking about before we started recording. Jamie being the grandfather, the godfather. I'm sorry, of the JUCO World Series at Grand Junction. And with Jamie, and we talked before we got going here, is just that from day one when we announced, hey, we want to come out from a national office and spend some time, he absolutely rolls out the red carpet and treats me like royalty. And I love that guy to death. Love his whole crew, his committee. Fantastic dude. Talked about him as a coach, and again, you said you just got done hanging out with him as a mentor, as a figure in your life, someone that's really changed the course of where you were going.
Well, he's you're gonna make me emotional, man.
Come on, man, that's what I do. This is Oprah. I mean, we're right here on the chairs, man. Let's make it happen.
No, Jamie's just made a difference in my life. You know, when I went to it's Colorado Mesa now. At that time, it was Mesa State. I went there as a junior after I played junior college, and Jamie was my position coach, and he figured out right away that I was going to go 100 miles an hour, and that kind of fit his personality, and we kind of hit it off, and so he got me to be successful as a player, and he kind of took me under his wing and let me coach like during the summers with some American Legion teams around the area, and he kind of pushed me in that direction and always believed in me, and he has kind of been that guy that's been my advocate for as long as I can remember. He's like a second father, and he's the guy that says, hey, listen, you need to go coach, you need to do this. He's the guy that I pick up the phone when things aren't going very well, or if it's going good. And I think the best way to describe it is that, when I introduce him, I introduce him as my coach. And when you can take ownership, is when you're around the trade show or whatever, and you introduce somebody as my coach, that means that they've made a difference in your life. And Jamie Hamilton is my coach.
I don't want to get emotional either. My college coach was speaking upstairs earlier this morning at the youth clinics, and Alan Cox from Okotoks, and Bart went and grabbed me and, hey, I don't want you to miss Alan. He's getting going here. Made my way in there, and I got in the back, and I'm taking it in. The room's full to capacity, and I felt myself getting choked up.
Yeah.
I had to get out. And I think it's that relationship, that impact that those people make, and they – that's what we do in coaching, how influential we can be. Did you, as a young coach, fully understand maybe the bigger picture? Did you have that dynamic, or when you look back, you're like, man, I really didn't see it as full as it
I
could
think,
be?
back when I started, honestly, I was just trying to get through, and learn as much as possible and really kind of be successful where I was standing at the moment.
Right.
And that's why I went to conventions and did clinics throughout the summer in different areas around the country, and tried to find ways to talk baseball and learn from great minds and just guys that are in it. They're in the trenches, and whether it's a high school coach, a little league coach, travel ball coach, college coach, major league coach, as much as information as you can gather, and then you can always test that out, and you can find out and make it your own, or you can shove that aside and move on with what you feel is successful.
Right.
But really back then it was more just, I'm trying to find a way to learn myself to pass that information on to the kids that I was coaching at the time, and finding ways to have them be successful. And really, I didn't picture myself as being a head coach at San Diego State. Back then it was more just, I was out there teaching and mentoring and learning how to recruit and get on the road and do all that really fun stuff. And I say this all the time. I'm very blessed, and I'm honored just to have the opportunity to lead a great institution at San Diego State. And again, I've been around great people. Jamie's one of them. Tony Gwynn's another one.
Absolutely.
Rich Allday, my coach at New Mexico, impacted my life and gave me that opportunity to be in the game. So back then, again, I was a kindergarten PE teacher, and that was kind of thought, well, when I got done with school, that's what I was going to do.
Sure.
And then I had two men that believed in me that said, listen, you're going to go coach college baseball. And I'm like, when you hear that, you're going to be an assistant coach forever. And I was assistant coach for a long time, man.
You were. Yeah.
And and I had an opportunity coach with a legend at San Diego State, and he put me in a position to be where I am too, and I owe a lot to him.
That's awesome. I mentioned Barnstormers earlier just because we've hosted two there, but more than that, the year that we weren't at your place, you flew to Notre Dame and spoke at that Barnstormers clinic. So one of the stories, you and I were talking a couple weeks ago at your place, was one that you told on the podcast, and I'd love for you to go through this. Great story about Tony Gwynn. You're getting diced up on a Friday night, and he saw the game differently than you did.
Well, and again, he, for 20 years, and he's obviously an exceptional athlete. Yeah. Now he's the skipper over at San Diego State, and he brought me in to kind of help turn the program in a direction that he really wanted to do, and we felt like we were doing that. And this is my first spring there. We're getting ready to play University of New Mexico, who I just came from, and they got a little guy named Danny Ray Herrera on the mound. He's about 5'8", and ended up pitching in the big leagues with the Pirates.
Did he really?
Yeah, and before, about a week out, I said, listen, T, hey, man, this guy's pretty good, man. I'm just letting you know.
Right.
And, of course, Tony's like, no, and I got to keep it G-rated. But, he's like, nah, no shot. This guy can't be that good. So during the week, Tony's out there throwing BP, You know, he's trying to throw his change up and stuff. And our guys are, you know, of course they're hitting Tony.
Sure.
You know, and so the game starts. I go out to coach third base. Bottom of the first, we're at home. Danny Ray dices us up, 1-2-3 inning. I walk in the dugout, and Tony's pissed. He's like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean? I go, this guy's pretty good. And he's like, I bust that guy's ass. And I'm like, T, I'm just letting you know, he's tough to pick up.
Right.
You know the hater guy from the Brewers out, he kind of hides the ball.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same deal.
Yep.
And he had a plus changeup, Bugs Bunny deal. So he's frustrated. He goes, I don't understand why our guys can't, you know, see this guy.
I love this.
And I'm like, so I go back out, bottom of the second, 1-2-3, come back in. The clipboard hits the stairwell, and he's like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And I go, T, I'm just letting you know. That guy's pretty good.
I've been telling you all week.
And he goes, he's showing it right to these guys. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you know, we always talk about pick up the window. I go, yeah. And I said, yeah, I get it. He says, listen, next time we're on offense, pick someone else to coach third base. I want you to sit here, and I want you to watch with me. And he says, I'm going to show you how easy it is to pick this guy up. We bust this guy. And I'm like, okay. So I sit in the stairwell with him, and he says, now when his hand gets in the window, I want you to call out the pitch. And, you know, of course, I'm like, okay, I'll try. So, you know, he gets up there, and he throws a pitch. The ball hits the glove. And I'm like, that's fastball. And he goes, no, dummy. When his hand's in the window, I said, okay, I'll do it.
Right.
So he throws a pitch, and, you know, I guess. I'm like, change up. He goes, no, it's a fastball. He goes, you know, you can't see that. I'm like, T, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Right.
He's like, he's showing it right to these guys. I would crush this guy. He goes, try it again. So now I'm gonna bear down, right? I'm gonna put my hands up, and I'm gonna ultra focus.
Yeah.
And the guy throws a pitch. You know, sure enough, I'm like, ball hits the glove. I'm like, change up. Like, he's losing his mind. He's like, you don't see this. And I go, what are you seeing? He goes, you can't see his pinky coming off the ball when he's throwing a change up. I'm like, no, T, and none of the guys that are on the bench can see that either. I'm just letting you know. He goes, are you kidding me? And I go, no, I'm just telling you.
That just speaks to where he was.
Right,
man.
and he just, you know, he had done it over a long period of time at such a high rate, and he could just pick it up like that. And really, that was, you know, a time where I think he realized, like, okay, we're going to really kind of dial this thing up, and we worked a ton on vision training where, you know, he devised a string system, you know, from the L screen down behind home plate, different colored strings. You know, our guys were having to call it the color of the string, and it really helped our guys. But, you know, I think it helped him understand that, man, we all have to evolve as coaches, you know, and as we know that we're all evolving here, you know, at the ABCA convention, getting better and sharing ideas and having opportunities to talk to just all these people. I just spent 20 minutes with a coach that I've known for many years. I haven't seen him for like 5 years, and we're breaking it. We're taking ground balls in the trade show. You know, we're fanning him ground balls. It was fun. You know, so but see, you got to evolve as a coach, and I think that's where that time with Tony was really cool to kind of see that and help me also get better. You know, I'm frustrated. I can't. Obviously, I'm not working on vision enough.
Right. And
so we had to get better at that as well. So we had to evolve and get, you know, find ways to translate that to our players.
Well, we're talking about the ABCA convention. I think if we're paying attention to anyone that's here, they're loving Dallas. But there's going to be guys that are listening to this that aren't here. They're watching the tweets. I feel for those guys. I'm sure it's a lonely place to watch what's happening on Twitter. But if they're listening to this, Mark, and they're hearing from you, what would be your pitch to them? Hey, you got to come to Nashville.
Well, I mean, it's one thing is that you can come with your buddies and hang out. I think that's part of the cool part about it. But I think the other thing is the amount of people that you get to meet and you get to share ideas with.
Right.
You know, whether it's on an expo stage or if it's in the, you know, main hall, listening to those guys. But really, the most important time is when you're hanging around in the lobby or, you know, and getting introduced to such, you know, great people. You know, we're all baseball. We're all in it together.
Sure.
You know, and it's really cool to, you know, to me, make your way here to develop great baseball relationships, and you're going to find yourself leaving here being a better coach and a better person. It's really cool.
That will probably show up in the front intro of the podcast. That's a great quote. Mark, thanks for being who you are, being part of what we do, man. Thanks for being here. Enjoy your time in Dallas, my friend.
I will do that. And, you know, I still owe you dinner, but I don't see that San Diego State gear. I know you can't represent, but
it's underneath.
I'll look for it.
You're the best. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much.
No
Thank
doubt.
you.